Now, before you crucify me, I am a fan of foreign film as I love seeing art conceived outside of Hollywood and learning about other people's cultures. That said, Death Whisperer thoroughly disappointed me, but I saw it through to the end. It is a horror movie based on a novel called T. Yod by Cretanon, allegedly inspired by real events. It is set in the 70s in a remote village which is beautiful by day and spooky by night. Synopsis. Yam is a school-going teen who is helpful at home
เห็นบัวรดน้ำหยาดไหม
ตื่นสายนะเราน่ะฮะดีนะที่พ่อเขายังไม่กลับไม่งั้นโวยวายบ้านแตกแน่
แย้มทำแทนเจ้แล้วนะ
and part of a big farming family in Thailand's Kanchanaburi province. She has 2 school-going sisters, an older sibling who left for the military, and 2 other older brothers who help out with the farm, which is what their strict, disciplined father seems to only care about.
ทำไมกลับค่ำมืดแบบนี้ไปทะเลทลายไหนกันมาไปโรงเรียนเช้าต้องกลับเย็นจะทำตัวไอ้ห่วงกันแบบนี้ก็ไม่ต้องเรียนออกมาทำงานให้หมด
One day, while heading to school, Yi stops near a spooky bamboo tree and continues to stare, but her sisters don't think much of it, and so they head on to school. However, on the way back home from school, the 2 older girls see a ghost woman dressed in black near the same tree, same as they'd seen earlier in a drawing they found in school by a now deceased girl called Nat. A few days later, Yam seems to be coming down with a fever and a cough and is taken to hospital where they say she's fatigued and give her some supplements and send her home.
อะไรมากหรอพี่ยักษ์ หมอบอกว่าแค่อ่อนเพลีย ก็เลยให้ยาบำรุงมา
But she only gets more frail and pale by the day and then starts behaving differently, like she's possessed. In their small town, they had recently suffered their natural death of Nat that the residents could not understand. Yak, who has come visiting for a night, learns that the spirit that had made Nat ill finally took her life and decided to take residency in his sister's body, and so he decides not to leave so as to try and save his sister from the spirit that has taken a hold of her body. Now let's talk about the movie. The movie starts with Nat's parents who are hopeful to make more money from their shallots harvest so that they can find a cure for their daughter's illness.
ไหนก็เอา ขอให้มันมีเข้ามาบ้างเถอะ จะได้รักษาให้หายสักที
While on the way to the house, they hear her screaming and rush inside to find her in pain, and we watch as her stomach starts bulging and she starts bleeding profusely until she meets her death. We then cut to a livelier picture of a big farming family, and the family has 6 children. That is Yak, Yos, Yod, Yad, Yam, and Yi by their respective ages. Their acting makes the movie watchable as we watch their sweet sibling bond grow on us in the first half of the film. As for their acting, Yi particularly, that is the youngest, really brings out the scared, witless character perfectly. The other siblings look equally as scared through the terrible ordeal that they are going through. They are all smart, listen to each other, and come together to try and find a cure for their sister. We also see a lot of shots showing just how stunning Yak is. After all, he is an army man. Granted the time spent developing the relationships of the family members and getting to know more about them, it is a bit of a slow burn initially. Yak discovers about the spirit Chue from Sergeant Parfan, who he'd brought to say hi to his mom, minutes after the spirit had come inside and tried to harm Yam, leaving with her tooth. The sergeant sees Yam in her possessed form, and he tells Yak that it is the spirit Chue, known to call upon dark spirits, and she recently moved into their village, so they pay her a visit. They disrupt her in the middle of a spell, and she stabs her head into a broken wooden stake and dies. The sergeant then informs Yak that it might be too late, as the spirit's last requirement before taking over a body is usually a tooth, which she had already taken from Yam, and so he directs him to take care of Yam and goes out to seek more help.
คืนนี้เองกลับไปเฝ้าน้องของเอง ระหว่างเนี้ยข้าจะหาวิธีช่วยเองอีกแรง
The movie's climax till the end is filled with chaos and a surprising twist, revealing that the story will continue in part 2. Here are my thoughts. It has visually appealing cinematography as the settings themselves are great, and the plot is mildly intriguing. However, the story unfolds very slowly and relies on predictable jump scares and some gory scenes to terrify the audience. Mind you, you'll have to wait till closer to the end to see most of these gory scenes. There were barely any real scares for me in the movie, and I feel like the movie generally struggles to stay consistent. Nevertheless, I do feel like a difference between the Western horror and the Eastern horror is that the former relies on gore, while the latter relies on the supernatural forces to shock the audience, especially seeing as Thailand has a possession culture. In case you did not know, Thai culture is rich in popular and enduring ghost beliefs, originating from Buddhist beliefs and local folklore and adapted into modern media like films and comics. Moreover, we see the isolation and helplessness from the rural background where they have little interaction with outsiders. While some parts were definitely entertaining, the creators wasted a lot of time on supernatural sequences instead of delivering chills, making it a guilty pleasure for some horror fans. I found the music overly dramatic. The sound design was immersive though, which makes sense because it was the first Thai film to be filmed for IMAX. In summary, we have some pretty great practical special effects, some sparse gore, and no storyline to hold it together, which makes it a very forgettable film. It is disappointing to waste away such good acting, as the film loses itself to fragmented storytelling and many plot holes. You as the audience never even feel for the characters or care if they die, which is rather sad. The movie from the outset had so much potential to be one of the best Thai horror movies, especially granted that people claim the actual story is very scary, but I feel like they did too much to the film, thus ruining it. Have you seen this movie? What do you think about it? Do they redeem themselves in Death Whisperer 2? Let me know in the comments.